I welcome this opportunity to speak to the people of America about a subject which I believe to be most important, and that is the subject of physical fitness. A country is as strong, really, as its citizens, and I think that mental and physical health go hand in hand. There is nothing, I think, more unfortunate than to have soft, chubby, fat-looking children. I hope that all of you will join, and everybody in the United States, to make sure that our children participate fully in a vigorous and adventurous life which is possible for them in this very rich country of ours.
So we have a responsibility to enter into the arena and make America healthy again. We just need the motivation.
Chop, chop, chop. When you get to the cone, push off your outside foot, change directions.
The motivation factor for young men
Much better, boys.
is to have a physical challenge that demands developing mental stability.
Chop, chop, chop. There you go.
And if you don't set that up for our young men, our boys, they won't develop properly.
Ron Jones is an historian, a PE teacher, and the curator of the La Parati Archive, which is a remarkable film collection. The archive gives a glimpse into a country that was and still could be.
You've probably heard that American kids are getting soft. The marshmallow generation, some people call them. Well, these are American kids you're watching. They're a group of high school boys who just happen to be in the same physical education program. They attend La Sierra High School in Carmichael, California.
La Sierra High School was really And if you don't, it's not going to go well. People oftentimes ask me, like, why do we get rid of this? I don't have a logical reason why we got rid of it. Something tells
our hormone systems And some of them appear to actually have the ability to cause, let's at least say, decreased fertility. There's clear evidence in wildlife that the increase in some of these chemicals causes infertility. There was a brilliant zoologist named Lou Gillette, who unfortunately passed away several years ago, who studied alligators. And there's a lake in Florida called Lake Apopka, and he was able to show that the alligators, the male alligators, had teeny weenies, and they had problems in their hormone levels, problems with reproduction, and that was related to some pesticides that had been released and gotten into the lake and impacted the alligators. Most of the chemicals, the synthetic chemicals that we look at, they're blocking the testosterone system and have been associated with lower levels of testosterone in the population. During development, hormonal changes are not reversible. It's really a demasculinization of the male fetus that can occur from hormones or chemicals that basically suppress the testosterone in utero.
Doing all of the things that can boost and raise my testosterone. I do feel more motivated, a lot less stressed over the little stuff. I feel like you can judge a man by the size of thing that upsets him. I don't feel like that type of thing happens anymore.
I think when your hormones are balanced, you are not this aggressive person. You are a person who seeks to serve others. You're a person who seeks to transform others.
We're designed to do hard things, especially as a man. And it's like a theme in our department of do hard things, and comfort kills.
I've tried to set that example for my children, and it's fun to have my wife look at me like she hasn't looked at me in a long time. It's like, you know? But, like, you have to go through it. You have to be willing to try it. You have to be willing to go through that experiment.
If America's establishment wants to regain the trust of the country, and it must, It has to do something real to fight this country's most serious health crises, and that begins with the terrifying drop in testosterone levels and sperm counts. But in the rest of the country, there's a growing movement of Americans who are looking affirmatively for ways to get healthy, to balance their hormones, to regain their fertility. Effectively, they're experimenting on themselves, and they're sharing the results online. They call
to the masses. Why should somebody believe me? Well, I'm just channeling the wisdom of the ancients, really. I'm a vessel. Raw eggs were once upon a time an essential part of the bodybuilder's diet, and that was due to a man called Vince Gironda, who was a bodybuilding maverick. Vince Gironda advocated consuming large quantities of raw eggs as an alternative to taking steroids. He did a lot of scientific research, and he was aware of that burns victims once upon a time were treated with a daily dose of 36 eggs, mainly raw. Burns victims would later be given anabolic steroids instead of this egg diet. It's the cholesterol, above all, in the eggs that has an anabolic effect, like steroids. Fast forward to today, various different scientists are now proving that actually cholesterol has a very, very important role to play if you want to maintain normal testosterone levels. Gironda was right, so you need to eat cholesterol. And that means eggs, that means butter, that means red meat, organ meat, eating liver, drinking raw milk, and eating raw milk products, unpasteurized cheese. And this is substantiated in all sorts of studies, for instance, that have shown that eating a low-fat vegetarian diet is about the worst thing that you can do. It just tanks your testosterone. I've tried at various times to sleep on the floor, but it's a bit too much for me. Cold showers are supposed to have various hormonal effects. It's interesting, there's a kind of schism actually on right-wing Twitter about you're either sunning your balls or you're freezing your balls.
My name on Twitter is Benjamin Braddock. I'm a right-wing bro scientist, and yes, I tan my balls. The bro science behind ball tanning is generally that it feels good, so do it. The bro science behind it is based on very real science that's emerging, and that's the benefits of red light therapy. Our cells respond differently to certain wavelengths of light, and red light, it penetrates much deeper into the body, and the effect of red light is to increase the cell's energy. So there are trials right now to actually treat Parkinson's disease. Why you would want to use red light therapy on your balls and the cells in your testicles are what create testosterone, the Leydig cells. So by increasing the cellular health of your testes, you're increasing the function of what they do, and that big part of that is producing testosterone. I've had an interest in health and fitness for quite a while now. As a teenager who had gotten to the point of a type 2 diabetes diagnosis by the age of 19, got into sports, started eating right. The thing I learned was that, it's really when you start getting these toxic cooking oils, out of your diet, that's when you really start to see the most dramatic improvement.
Seed oils are very high in something called omega-6 fats. In excess, omega-6 fats are associated with inflammatory and testosterone-lowering diseases such as diabetes. One study of rats in the Journal of Toxicological Sciences found that soybean and canola oil significantly lowered testosterone levels. The anti-seed oil movement has exploded online.
What's wrong with our food is that it's not food. Seed oils, vegetable oil, everything under that sort of vegetable oil category is all new and reliant on industrial processes to extract. My rule of thumb is just, is this something that occurs naturally, that doesn't need an industrial process to bring it about? William Wheelwright, at Plowman's Folly on Twitter. What's high testosterone about regenerative farming? It's about mimicking the patterns that we find in nature, and ultimately this is what leads us to the highest degree of vitality and strength. Not all beef is created equal, not all chicken is created equal.
Think about a cow living in a big factory, never moving, eating God only knows what, genetically modified ingredients, things they're not even meant to eat, injected with massive amount of hormones, chemicals from the factory itself. Versus a cow who's living outside as nature intended, getting sunlight on it, consuming the grass, the nutrients that nature is providing, digesting all of that for us, and then we get to benefit from that. And I would much rather eat a humanely raised animal than an animal who's been abused its whole life, right? And so I only eat grass-fed, pasture-raised animals. And I encourage all of our clients to do the same. I think it's the right thing to do, both for the animal and for themselves.
Nowadays, in 2022, what being right-wing means is just someone who believes that there's such a thing as the natural order.
The world and the media have actually demonized doing things naturally, and that includes the
are probably one of the most underserved populations in the nation. And it's sad. They have a pediatrician till they're 16 in general in America, a developed country, and then their care drops off the face of the earth until either they're in pain or their life is threatened. And I have tried to battle that for years, change the culture.
Dr. Tarek understands that shaming men about their concerns about low testosterone and low sperm count prevents them from getting the help they need. Authorities would rather make fun of them than help.
And they go for care for that, and they'll get ignored because maybe they're told they should deal with it, or that's what it's like. You just have to listen, really, to young men and give them a ground and let them legitimize their complaints, whether they're real or not, whether you can define them or not, or solve them or not.
When the authorities stop doing their jobs, citizens have no choice but to fill the gap. No one in Washington seems interested at all in why testosterone levels are dropping. It's a joke to them. Just watch their reaction to the preview of this episode.
I gotta say, coming from a Fox News anchor, that is a refreshing and positive celebration of homoeroticism. Good for you, fellas. Good for you.
Why are they all naked? This doesn't make any sense.
Okay, this trip into Tuckham's dreamscape is absurd. I mean, testicle tanning?
You can't watch that and not see how homoerotic it is.
Some pretty blatant fascist posturing.
So if men want to stay male, they must be fascists and also gay. That's what the media tells you. If you care about your health, if you want to stay fit, you must be a right-wing extremist because good people are fat and passive.
This is a slur that is used to prevent healthy forms of male association, so that even basic friendship is now suspect. Masculinity, as a result, has retreated into pathetic spaces like the man cave.
So if you're a man and you want to get together to do anything other than watch a sports game and get intoxicated and eat wings with women with boobs hanging out, then you can do that. I call it bacon and boobies masculinity. That's the only permissible expression of masculinity. The recent attacks, these are coming regularly now from the regime media, is going to the gym is far-right behavior. Physical culture is far-right behavior.
Well-ordered, disciplined groups of men bound by friendship are dangerous, precisely because of what they can do. They can upset the status quo just like that. A few hundred men can conquer an entire empire. So that's why they want you to be sick, depressed, and isolated.
You want to demoralize the people, you want them emasculated, you want them to create no threat to the ruling regime. They haven't thought it through, right?
Increasingly large numbers of men are dropping out and ceasing to be men and ceasing to do the necessary things that men must do. Those kinds of societies obviously become weak and ripe for dissolution. Things are going to get worse before they get better. How much worse isn't exactly clear. But I think we've had intimations over the past couple of years, especially with the 2020 mostly peaceful riots. People are realizing, I think, that they're not where they need to be if they want to survive, if they want to continue to live a fulfilling life, if they want to protect not only themselves, but their families and their friends and their way of life. Once a society collapses, then you're in hard times. Well, iron sharpens iron, as they say, and those hard times inevitably produce men who are tough, men who are resourceful, men who are strong enough to survive. And then they go on to re-establish order, and so the cycle begins again.